Hello participants, welcome back to our study. This is the Module 2 of the study about self-compassion and imposter phenomenon. Previously, we talked about the definitions of imposter phenomenon and self-compassion. We learned that self-compassion has three components: mindfulness, common humanity, and self-kindness. Starting from this module, we're going to talk about each of the three core elements of self-compassion. Now we're going to start with mindfulness. Before we talk about mindfulness, it might be helpful to understand its opposite, which is mindless, or the default mode of living. In our daily life, people tend to have the default mode of living that keeps us away from being aware of our feelings, thoughts, or surroundings, so that our brain can focus on potential issues or threats. Have you ever had experience of sitting down to eat a meal and before you knew it, the entire plate of food was gone? Where was your mind? When your body was eating, your mind was elsewhere, lost in the default mode of living. The brain uses its spare time to focus on potential problems that need solving. For example, the exam you are going to take, or the stress caused by the issues you have with your loved ones. The default mode of living is beneficial from an evolutionary point of view because when humans were living in caves, we really needed to have that spare time for our brain to anticipate or focus on the threats to our survival. However, the problems we're facing right now are much less likely to be life-threatening. It will be rather unpleasant to continue living in this way. When we're operating in the default mode, we're often struggling, but we don't even have the presence of mind to know that we're struggling. We might be feeling overwhelmed with stress or our emotional experience. And similar to the eating example we had earlier, we might arrive at a feeling, thought, or situation without really knowing how we got there. And it keeps us from being in touch with our own body, and we miss warning signs about stress. And also keeps us from being present in our relationships and being able to read another person's reactions. Although there is evolutionary benefit of having the default mode of living, it can cause harm to our well-being right now. One way to change it is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness refers to awareness and acceptance of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environment from moment to moment. Or you can understand it as the ability to know what's happening in your head and your environment at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Behaviorally, being mindful means we are paying attention on our purpose. We'll be aware of our needs, why we're doing certain things, and our intentions. Being mindful also means we're paying attention in the present moment. We'll be aware of what's happening in our heads, what kind of feelings we're having, thoughts we're having, and what's happening in the environment as well. Being mindful also means paying attention to all the experiences non-judgmentally. For example, if we're feeling sad, being mindful means we're able to recognize the sadness, but we won't judge it as if it's a bad or wrong thing to feel. It's just a feeling. Mindfulness is a very important component of self-compassion. It's the foundation of self-compassion training. This is because mindfulness creates space between us and our internal experiences, like our thoughts or feelings. By taking the time to fully experience and observe your thoughts and feelings, you are able to look at your thoughts and feelings instead of from your thoughts or feelings. And you're able to see those internal feelings and thoughts as what they are, just words, pictures, and sounds, without having judgment about them. That mental space created by being mindful will give us the freedom to choose how we might like to respond to a situation. For example, when we're suffering, we're very easily overwhelmed by our thoughts and feelings, which oftentimes are very negative and critical. To offer us the compassion we need, we can stop and ask ourselves, what do I need right now? How am I feeling right now? What are the thoughts I'm having right now? Which is practicing mindfulness. Then we will have the freedom to choose how we want to comfort and how do we want to support ourselves as we would as a good friend. Research shows that one of the benefits of practicing mindfulness regularly is that it tends to deactivate the default mode of living. This means that the more we practice being mindful, the more opportunities we have to make better choices for ourselves, including the choice to practice self-compassion. Research also shows being mindful is also related to having lower anxiety, lower depression, and better psychological well-being. Individuals with imposter phenomenon might benefit from practicing mindfulness. Like we talked about in our previous module, individuals with imposter feelings tend to overly focus on the incidents in which they have not succeeded and discredit the evidence of achievement. They tend to see other people as more competent and minimize their own knowledge and talents. They're overly preoccupied with their inadequacies and personal failures, and it might be hard for them to take a balanced view of their positive and negative experiences because they tend to focus on the negative ones, which means they may have difficulty with being mindful. So we believe that practicing mindfulness might be helpful in reducing individuals' imposter feelings. Then the next question will be how to be mindful. Here are some core features of mindfulness that might serve as a guideline. First is observing, which means simply observing your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations as they are happening. Then describing, noticing the details of what you're observing and being able to put them into words. For example, we can describe our emotions. If we're having or experiencing anger, we can ask ourselves, what does that anger look like? And does it have a color? Does it have a shape? Where is it in our body that I can feel the anger? And does it have a temperature? What's it like for me to have that anger in my body? That's the way you can describe those emotions. Then another core feature of mindfulness is participating fully. For example, if we're in a classroom discussion, it means letting yourself participate fully in the conversation without worrying about what your classmates will think of you. If you're dancing, it means throwing yourself 100% into the dance, moving with the music, not worrying about how you look. Then another core feature will be focusing on one thing at a time. To stay present, do not follow or chase distracting or anxious thoughts. And finally, being non-judgmental, being able to accept whatever that's happening and fully engage in the process. Okay, so that's all for this video. After this video, there are going to be a few guided mindfulness exercises in this module. Please take some of your time to experience what's it like to be mindful. Many people find them to be very helpful in reducing their stress level. I hope you can enjoy them. Thank you very much for watching and participating in the study. See you in the next module.